The first thing I noticed wasn't the machines. It was the way my wife's phone kept lighting up and then going silent. I stood there staring at her in that ICU bed, trying to understand how someone can look so still and still be alive. Something felt off. I shouldn't have noticed it, but I did. The nurse had already asked me twice if I wanted to step out. I said no both times. Her hand was cold, not lifeless, just unfamiliar. That's when her phone buzzed again. Same number. No name saved. Just a string of digits. It stopped before I could reach it, like someone changed their mind. I kept it to myself. My name is Daniel Reeves. I'm 47. I've been married to Claire for 21 years. We built everything together, or at least I thought we did. The doctor said the word critical like it was routine, like it didn't carry weight, like it didn't mean my whole life was hanging by a thread. I stayed all night. Around morning, I stepped into the hallway for coffee. That's when I saw her. My mother-in-law. She wasn't crying, not even close. She was standing near the window, calm, almost prepared. When she saw me, she walked over slowly, no rush, no panic. Then she said something that didn't make sense at first. "You should sit down," she told me. I didn't. That's when everything started to shift, and I didn't even realize it yet. I didn't sit down. I just looked at her, waiting for something real to come out of her mouth, something that matched the situation. Her daughter was inside that room, barely alive. But she didn't look like a mother who was scared. She looked settled. "I've already spoken to the lawyer," she said, like we were discussing paperwork after a normal day. Claire made some decisions before this happened. That word stuck with me. Before. Before what? I kept my voice steady. What decisions? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached into her purse and pulled out a folded paper, not to give it to me, just to hold it. "She transferred everything to me," she said. "Accounts, property, all of it. You won't have access anymore." I didn't react, not the way she expected, because something didn't line up. Claire and I didn't hide things from each other, not finances, not decisions that big. And if something like that had happened, I would have known. I should have known. Unless I wasn't supposed to. "I see," I said quietly. She studied my face like she was waiting for anger, for panic, for me to break a little. I gave her nothing. Instead, I thought about the phone, the unknown number, the timing, the way she showed up too fast, too ready. Something felt arranged. "I'll handle things from here," she added. "You should focus on accepting reality." I nodded once, but I wasn't accepting anything, not yet, because something about all of this didn't feel like an accident at all. I didn't argue with her. That was the first decision I made. If something didn't make sense, I don't push right away. I watch. I wait. Claire always said that about me. You don't react. You collect. So I started collecting. I went back into the ICU room and sat beside her again. Same machines. Same steady beeping. But now I wasn't just a husband sitting there. I was paying attention. Her phone was still on the table. I picked it up. Locked. Of course it was. Claire never left it open. But I knew her patterns. 21 years teaches you small things like that, the kind no one else would notice. I tried the code. It didn't work. That stopped me for a second. Claire never changed it unless she had a reason. I didn't force it again. I just placed the phone back exactly where it was. No mistakes. No signs I touched it. Then I noticed something else. Her bag. It was sitting under the chair, half unzipped. That wasn't like her either. Claire was careful, organized, always. I leaned down slowly and looked inside. Nothing unusual at first. Wallet, lip balm, a small notebook. Then I saw an envelope. Plain, no name on it. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. Inside was a single folded document, not official looking, no letterhead, just printed text. And one line that made my chest tighten. "If anything happens to me, do not trust my mother." I froze because Claire didn't scare easily, which meant she saw something coming. I read that line 3 times. Same words. Same weight every time. Do not trust my mother. Claire didn't write things like that unless she meant them. She wasn't dramatic. She didn't assume the worst. If she put it on paper, it was because she already knew something I didn't. I folded the paper back exactly the way I found it and slid it into my jacket. Then I sat there again watching her. Everything around me felt different now. Not fear, not panic, just clarity. I stepped out into the hallway and called the one person Claire trusted more than anyone outside our marriage, her accountant Mark Ellison. He picked up on the second ring. "Daniel, I need to ask you something," I said. "Did Claire transfer anything recently? Large assets, accounts, anything to her mother?" There was a pause, then a quiet, confused "no." I didn't speak. He continued slower now. "She actually came in last week. We reviewed everything. Nothing changed." Why? That was enough. I thanked him and hung up. So my mother-in-law lied, not misunderstood, not confused. She lied straight to my face while her daughter was in critical condition. I stood there for a moment, letting that settle. Then I walked back toward the waiting area. She was still there, same spot, same calm posture, watching people pass like nothing mattered. When she saw me, she gave a small knowing look, like she already won. I walked up to her just close enough so no one else could hear. And for the first time I said something back. "Strange," I told her quietly. Because according to her accountant, nothing was transferred. Her expression didn't break, but her eyes did just for a second. And that's when I knew. This wasn't about money, not just money. I didn't push her after that. That was the second decision I made. When someone slips once, you don't scare them. You let them keep talking. You let them believe they're still in control. So I stepped back. "I must have misunderstood," I said calmly. She studied me for a second like she was trying to read something deeper. Then she gave a small nod like she accepted that answer. If that meant she wasn't sure what I knew. I went home that night for the first time since the accident. The house felt wrong, not empty, just disturbed. Small things out of place. Claire's shoes weren't where she usually left them. A drawer in the kitchen was slightly open. I shouldn't have noticed that, but I did. I walked through each room slowly, no rush, just looking, collecting. Then I went to her office. Claire handled most of our paperwork, bills, accounts, records. Everything was usually organized down to the smallest detail. But one folder was missing. I knew it instantly. Dark blue. She kept it in the second drawer on the left side of her desk. I'd seen it 100 times, never opened it. Now it was gone. I stood there for a long minute. Then I checked the rest of the drawer. Nothing else was disturbed, just that one folder. I closed the drawer and stepped back. That's when everything aligned in my head. The accident. The lie. The warning in the envelope. The missing file. This wasn't random. Someone had already been preparing. And I had a feeling. I knew exactly who. I didn't go back to the hospital right away. I made one stop first, the bank, not the main branch, a smaller one Claire used sometimes when she didn't want attention. I walked in like it was a normal visit, no urgency, no stress. "Hi, I need to review some account activity," I told the manager, calm voice, nothing unusual. Claire had given me full access years ago. That part was real. The manager pulled up everything. Transactions looked clean at first, bills, routine transfers, nothing strange. But I wasn't looking for big moves. I was looking for quiet ones. Then I saw it. Small withdrawals spread out over weeks, always under reporting limits, always from the same secondary account Claire rarely used. I pointed at the screen. "This one." The manager zoomed in. Different days. Same pattern. And then location tags. Each withdrawal was made from a branch near my mother-in-law's neighborhood, not ours. I thanked the manager and left. That was enough confirmation, but I still needed something stronger, proof no one could argue with. I drove straight back home and went into Claire's office again. This time I didn't just look, I searched, carefully, slowly, no damage, no mess. Then I checked the one place people forget, the printer tray. There were 2 sheets left inside. I pulled them out. Copies. Legal format. Transfer authorization drafts. Not completed, not signed, but prepared. And the name, listed as the receiving party, matched exactly what she told me. I stared at it for a long second because now I understood. She didn't get everything. She was trying to. And Claire knew it. I didn't confront her. That would have been too easy and too messy. Instead, I made 2 calls. First to Mark. I need you at the hospital tomorrow. I told him. Bring everything. Full records. He didn't ask questions. He just said, I'll be there. Second call was to a lawyer Claire had used once years ago, quiet, precise man, the kind who didn't waste words. I think someone is trying to take control of my wife's assets while she's unconscious. I said. He paused, then asked, Do you have proof? I have enough. I replied. Then don't say anything yet, he said. Let them commit to it. That's exactly what I planned. The next morning I walked into the hospital with a folder in my bag. Not thick, just enough. She was already there. My mother-in-law stood near Claire's room, speaking softly with a nurse like she belonged there. Like she had authority. When she saw me, she gave a small smile. You should be preparing yourself, she said. There are things you don't understand yet. I nodded slightly. I agree, I said. That's why I brought someone who does. Mark walked in right behind me, folder in hand. Her smile faded just a little. We stepped into a private consultation room. The lawyer joined us. A few minutes later. Now it wasn't just words. It was records, dates, patterns, and one very clear timeline. I placed the documents on the table slowly. Then I looked at her and said, Before we go any further, you might want to explain these. She didn't touch the papers. That was the first sign. Most people do. They look, they flip, they try to find something to hold on to. She just stared at them like she already knew what was inside. The lawyer spoke first. These are withdrawal records tied to your location, he said calmly. And these are draft transfer documents prepared in advance. Not signed. Not authorized. Silence. Then Mark added, Claire reviewed all her assets last week. Nothing was transferred. Nothing approved. I watched her closely. She finally sat down. Not dramatic. Not angry. Just tired. You don't understand, she said quietly. I didn't interrupt. She was going to leave you, she continued. She told me everything. Said she was done. I was protecting her. That was the first real lie that almost sounded believable. Almost. Because Claire didn't leave things unfinished. And she didn't warn someone not to trust their own mother if everything was normal. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the envelope. I found this in her bag, I said. I slid the paper across the table. Her eyes moved over the line once. That was enough. Something in her face gave way. No anger this time. No control. Just exposure. The lawyer closed the folder. We'll proceed formally from here. She didn't argue. Didn't defend herself. Just sat there quiet. Later that evening, I went back into Claire's room and sat beside her again. Same machines. Same stillness. But this time, I understood what she was trying to protect. I leaned closer and said softly, I've got it handled. And for the first time since the accident, I felt like I actually did.